Hello everyone, True Zero Emissions here, just starting a new video a few seconds after stopping the last one. The voice commands are working very well on the Insta360 Ace Pro. I'm very happy with my experience, except for the one time that I was charging the Insta360 Ace Pro and simultaneously loading videos from the Insta360 Ace Pro to my phone, which is an iPhone 13 Pro Max, 1 terabyte. Which I really want like a 5 or 10 terabyte. I keep asking Apple to please work on something that's at least a 2 terabyte, right? Or do they already have that? I don't know. And also to consider giving us more credit for our exchange when we return the phones and turn them in. They've been telling me that they don't pay extra for the extra memory that we have. And I really hope someday that could be looked at again, because we pay a lot extra for the phones. For more memory, and then when they buy them back, they pay us the same price no matter how much memory we have, which is, it doesn't help us get into the new model, especially if we want the higher memory new model. How's it going? Cool, huh? You want to ride one someday? You want to get one someday? You don't think so? You think you could ride it? No. I couldn't until I learned. I had to learn. Huh? Sorry? Is it easy? It took a couple weeks to learn it. But some people learn quick. See, here's the thing. When I learned, I held onto a shopping cart, like a basket, and I followed it to learn, And then I got used to it, and then I let go. That's the way I did it. But once you do it, it gets easy once you do it. But wear gear. Wear the gear. Because if you fall, you don't want to get hurt, right? Yeah. Is that a backpack you're wearing? Is that a backpack? Yeah. What is it? Is it for your shoulders? Yeah. It holds your shoulders up? Wow. I don't think I ever saw that before. Oh, it's weight. Whoa. It's for working out. Exercise. Very nice. I like that. It's heavy. It's like 20 pounds, right? 20, maybe? 15, okay. And then you take it off and you feel light. Yeah. What's that? They have one for 1 pound? 30 pounds. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, these are called electric unicycles, if you want to look it up. Electric unicycle. They're fun. I recommend it, if you're curious. I recommend it. It's a lot of fun. Very fun. Okay, have a good day. Okay, everyone, True Zero Emissions here. I just noticed the gentleman looking a lot. And I just thought, let me just see if I can talk to him. Because he's looking, right? He's looking at me. He's looking at the unicycle. And I thought, well, maybe he has a question. Maybe he is curious. And I think I said, like, are you interested in this? He's like, no. I don't know if he understood me at first, but then it looks like he is curious, and he's appreciates it, that it exists. That's my words, but that's what I felt. That's what I sensed, that he's curious about it and interested, right? Because it's normal for us, right? Because we have brain, right? The brain. What's the brain? The brain is always taking in information, right? It's analyzing. I think it's like analyzing like millions of things at once, right? Millions. Not one, not two, right? We think we're like, oh, I'm thinking about something. But actually the brain's doing all kinds of stuff, right? The brain's like thinking all kinds of things. And when we see someone or something, the brain is thinking about it, right? So it's normal. I mean, he looked at this and he's like thinking. He's like, so I thought maybe I could think with him, right? We could share thoughts together. Okay. So anyway, that was another opportunity to connect, and I did. Now look at the sun shooting down. I don't know if you can see that in the camera. The camera is set to plus 1.5 stops on exposure compensation. I have it overexposed. Not sure how it's going to look today because it's overcast. I'm calling it overcast, but it's it's definitely going to be bright inside the camera. 1.5 stops brighter than it is just when I look at it right now. So I hope that's okay. I really had that set for nighttime because I felt like the videos were a little bit too dark at night. So I added half a stop, which is 0.5. I added one stop, which is just 1.0. And then I added 1.5, which is 1.5 stops. So it's like double the brightness, I think, is one stop. And then half double, like 50% brighter. So I think, are we at 150% brighter than normal? I don't know. I'm not sure how the numbers all work and everything. I don't remember all the details about that. But you can look it up, though, easily. So I'm just telling you it's 1.5 stops overexposed. And then if you want to research exactly what that means, you could look it up. So we're filming with the Insta360 Ace Pro. Now, when I look at the city here, it's amazing what we build. And I have to say, it's very strange to me that when people say things like, see, how do I say this? When I was growing up, my imagination was always trying to imagine this world that we live in, right? And it's interesting that we have stories like what we call science fiction, and then novels, and just stories that we write, right? Poetry and all the arts, right? All these arts. Amazing, amazing imagination. Such rich possibilities, right? Now, one of the strange things that people, I don't know if I want to say people, but one of the strange experiences that I noticed was that we have the full capability of doing something such as traveling faster than the speed of light, right? Absolutely no problem. Okay? We can travel faster than the speed of light. What does that mean? It means we can travel faster than the speed of light. It means we could travel to other star systems. It means we can travel to other galaxies, I think, right? I mean, I don't know. We'd have to experiment with that, right? But I do know we can go faster than the speed of light. We can do warp speeds, right? Warp speeds is faster than light speed. And we can do that at infinite, exponentially infinite amounts, right? Like in Star Trek, we see there's a limit, right? Warp 10, the ship's falling apart. Like we can't, what did Scotty say? I just can't do it, Captain. Remember? It's the famous line, I just can't do it, Captain. In the 1960s Star Trek. But John Searle, Thomas Townsend Brown, Otis T. Carr, Ralph Ring. Look at the UFO. I'm just going to call them UFOs. Look at the UFO spaceships that these gentlemen built. And I think Thomas Townsend Brown was working with the military. You know, one of my thoughts are, like, if you read on the internet, it says, they dropped the project. Well, look, to me, first of all, is the military going to get involved in something that doesn't work? Like, that gives it so much credibility. And it was nice that it was made public that they were working together. But here's the thing. Those ships have the ability to go faster than the speed of light. That's my understanding. You can watch infinite energy. What is it called? Better Energy Movement, BEM. Better Energy Movement. That's the YouTube channel, and the video is called Infinite Energy from the Vacuum. I think it's called Infinite Energy from the Vacuum. And I'm trying to think of the gentleman's name. So wise, such knowledge, such wisdom, such imagination. It'll come to me when I stop trying to think about it, when I stop trying to remember it. But this gentleman was in charge of John Searle. They put him in charge of John Searle's research and experimentation. They put him in charge of the program. John Searle passed away, I think, a few years ago, but all of his work has been saved and preserved. There's books you can read on it, and it's about creating a gravitational field by just rotating magnets. Okay, so if you want to do this, you can see what Nassim Harameyn's doing too. He's doing this too. I mean, when you think of just spinning something really fast, right? Spinning magnets especially, very fast. And then imagine spinning magnets within other magnets that are spinning. excuse me, and then that's all spinning within another set of magnets that's all spinning. And then we can start moving like those rides where this one spins like this and this one spins like that. Imagine moving these in different relationships and how that affects the Earth's gravitational fields, right, plural, when we have this gravity field, right, that we're cohering, right? Now, what's important to remember is that all the energy in the universe exists. There's many ways to say this, but I'll say it this way: in the palm of my hand. It can also be said that all the energy in the universe exists in every subatomic particle that we have, right? This is my understanding. My research and study indicate this. Now, study Nassim Haramein, he clarifies all this in a much more accurate and greater detail and degree, and he has all the mathematics. He has the peer-reviewed, I'll call it literature, and everything's documented. It's all available to the public. And when do we start traveling to other star systems and galaxies? Talking about going to Mars, that's fine. That's like, to me, that's like going to Griffith Park from where I live. I'll go visit the park, right? But what if we want to go to the other side of the world, which maybe the other side of the world is, relatively speaking, if I say it that way, in the universe, is like visiting the furthest reaches of not just the known universe, but the unknown universe, right? So how do we get to the unknown universe where we don't know what's there? And how do we go in that territory? And how do we document our experiences? So there's so many things happening simultaneously at all times that everything's moving forward and progressing very well, very rapidly. But I think it's important to just, like I've always been taught, I'm just going to say it this way. I've always been taught, read everything. Now, I don't read things that are like, how do I say this? If someone's saying you can't do something, I don't read that. I mean, I have in the past, just to see what they're talking about. But it's just, it doesn't interest me. It's not interesting to me at all. When someone goes, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I'm just like, wow. It's kind of like how psychologists will say that when someone, how do I say this? I don't mean to sound impolite, but I'm just gonna repeat something that psychologists sometimes will say, is that if someone, let's say someone is, how do I say this? Now, some people say this. Not everyone says this, but some people say, like, if you have like a negative thing that you're talking about, right? Like a negative thing, and you tell people, and it just brings them down. Like it can feel like negativity, and it's just like, it can feel like everyone's just like, this person's being negative, now they feel negative, and it feels like depression, right? Like it feels negative, right? Versus optimism, like talking about positive things that make us want to live, things that make us want to be here, things that we live for. And then maybe going to like a counselor to talk about those things that we can't maybe talk about with friends, family, or people, just anyone, right? But we can talk to someone that is trained, if I say it that way, in listening and hearing you and hearing your story, and just being supportive, I think, in different ways, in a professional way, and helping a person through that process, and then allowing the person, hopefully, to be able to be connected to themselves and the world in a way that's more productive, more collaborative, more helpful, more positive. So when I read people saying, that's impossible, you can't do that, it feels like a negative to me, and I'm just like, why would I read, like, first of all, why would someone say that? And then I could say, why would I look at this? It's not helpful to me. Is it helpful to me to read this? I mean, some people say, I like to read about things that people say that absolutely can't be done, and they'll make a list of everything that can't be done, and they'll just find ways to make it possible. Like, to them, it's like a to-do list. So all the impossible things are literally a to-do list for people. Now, a lot of people say that They say, oh, the hard work's been done for me. People that say you can't do stuff, they've literally done all the hard work of gathering things that I want to do in my life, which is just make all the things that can't be done possible. And that is wonderful. That's turning, I mean, that could be said to be turning a negative into a positive. I'm not trying to put down what, you know, if someone's like, that's impossible, and they believe that, and that's what they're going to think their whole life. You know, I can't say if that's good or bad for someone else, but I can say for me, I'm interested in possibility, infinite possibility. What happens when we combine different things, right? We're talking about water fuel technology and how Mythbusters, you know, they did this experiment where now people tell me that you can't take Mythbusters serious because it's just for entertainment. It's just to make people, like, it's to entertain them. It's not real, like, not really trying to educate, right? So if you look at it that way, I guess, you know, but how am I going to be educated by like water fuel technology, which is very interesting to me, and I'm looking at like one bubble come up, right? One bubble come up. Now in science class, we had lots of bubbles coming up. So why can't Mythbusters repeat the experiments that our science classes teach us? You know, they can't even replicate what, you know, high school science can achieve and has been achieving for, you know, a very long time, long before Mythbusters was ever around, right? The group, the channel and the group. So, oh, beautiful dogs right there, beautiful dogs. So, you know, and then we learn that, well, there's something called amperage and there's something called voltage, right? And the more voltage that we put into our electrolysis, which is the process of breaking apart the water molecule, and the water molecule is the name molecule is the smallest part of something, right? That's the name of it. That's one of the definitions of what a molecule is that it's the smallest part of that. So water, when we say water, we're talking about H2O, right? That we call that a water molecule, and to break it apart into oxygen and hydrogen, which makes a perfect balanced equal burn, which is called stoichiometry, which none of our transportation uses that. We don't have stoichiometry in our transportation, at least in the ones that use like gasoline, petrol, diesel, those, right? So I think natural gas burns cleaner. I think liquid propane gas burns cleaner because those maybe it's closer to stoichiometry, so the emissions are like really low or almost seeming non-existent. So so going back to this idea of like electrolysis, you know, to me it would be neat to and I've done experiments on this and I'll do more to come. It's if we can have a dial where we can turn up the voltage, right? So if we have 5 volts, this is how many bubbles we get. If we have 5 volts at like 1 amp, right? 5 volts, 1 amp. And then we have a couple bubbles, right? Or let's say 1 volt, 1 amp. We have a certain amount of bubbles. And then we turn the volts up. And I'm going to go real high. I'm going to say over 400 because it's supposed to be exponentially more efficient when you're over 400 volts. So I'm going to say 400 volts, but I'm going to leave the amperage down to milliamps, right? And maybe I can slowly turn that up to a higher milliamp or even into 1 amp or 2 amps. Now, I'm not saying to do this. I'm just saying this is a thought experiment. And then watch the bubbles come up, right? Now, what kind of water are we using? That's important, too. Some people like to use water from a stream. Some people like to use water from the faucet. Some people like to use distilled water and add their own Epsom, I think it's called Epsom salt, right? That's the salt that you put in the bathtub, in a warm bathtub, and if your muscles are sore, it can help you, right? It can help reduce the pain. But if we're using the Epsom salt in that way, as you know, I learned that from Aquatune, because Aquatune, before they changed ownership, now I'm not sure what they're doing. I haven't kept up on it. I only was involved with experimenting with the Aquatune when the previous owners were there. Since the new owners came in, I don't know anything about what they're doing, what their devices do, or how they've changed or how they haven't changed. I do know that when the previous owners were there, they were talking a lot, and I know a lot of people, like many people called them and learned and heard the same thing, is that they were supposed to be coming out with a product that was way more efficient than the Aquatune system, and this new system connected to the exhaust and intake manifold both, and it was supposed to be 100 times more potent, more powerful than gasoline. Imagine that, 100 times, more than 100 times more powerful than the energy of gasoline. And that was supposed to significantly increase the efficiency of the combustion. Now, when I say that to you, can you try to imagine with your imagination and with your knowledge of Thomas Bearden and John Bedini, who worked together a large part of their lives, to imagine that how could we go about replicating something that Aquatune was talking about, right? We don't know anything about it except that it connects to the exhaust, it connects to the... Well, what does that sound like? It sounds to me like the GEAT fuel processor, right? The GEAT fuel processor that connects to the exhaust, it connects to the intake manifold, and the energy density is really powerful, right? Because it's like a particle accelerator, and it's homemade. You make it from plumbing pipes at the hardware store, but you have to use black pipe, right? That's very important. Do not use the anodized pipe. I think it's called is it anodized? I think it's called anodized. Only use black pipe when you build a GEAT fuel processor. Super, super important. Otherwise, the vapors that come off of there will be poisonous to breathe. It's supposed to be really, really bad to breathe. So yeah, Aquatune sold the company, and I never saw their new products coming out that they talked about so often with everyone. I guess like customers and just people asking questions were talking about this on the internet and discussing it, and people just that called them, so like, yeah, they told me about this thing. I heard about it too. So but like I said, the GEAT fuel processor, Paul Pantone released those plans for free. You can connect with David, the son of Paul Pantone, if you want to learn about those plans, the proper ones. I say that because Paul Pantone said that the plans were released in variations of what they're supposed to be, and they're not the right system, So it's important that you get the right, correct plans. And like Paul said, if it's extremely complicated, it's probably not his plans, because his GEAT system is extremely simple. You can literally just throw it together. People build them in a weekend with plumbing parts they have laying around the house, and some people have been able to run their engines just off of the hydrogen from water with that system. Usually wrapping the reactor area. When I say reactor, it's not harmful to human health. It's just reactor as in reaction, right? We're just talking about a reaction. And the reaction area is like where the exhaust pipe's on the outside and the fuel vapor pipe is on the inside, and there's a rod in the middle. And that rod, the length of it is important. You have to go through a process. I don't know if you call it a conditioning process, but there's a conditioning process where you run the engine for 20 minutes, check the magnetic field of the rod, cut the rod according to where the magnetic field on the compass where it points to. You cut the part. It literally shows you where to cut it. And there's more specifics than that. There's more details that are important. But without those other details, people have still run the engine off of hydrogen from water. I think you have to start it on gasoline, and then you can switch over once it's warmed up. But but it'd still be fun to hear, what people think Aquatune was doing when they were experimenting, or when they were getting ready to release that product that didn't come out. And I really don't know what the story is behind that. Maybe one day I'll call Aquatune and ask them what happened to the system that was supposed to be 100 times more potent or more powerful or energy dense. 100 times more energy dense compared to gasoline, right? I mean, that sounds like such an exciting system. And but like I told them when they told me that, I said, well, yeah, that sounds like the GEAT fuel processor to me. I'm already familiar with this, I said. And that was always happening with Aquatune when I spoke to them. They would tell me something, I would tell them things, and they would say, how do you know that? And I would say, well, I read a lot. And they're like, did you read our patents or something? I said, no, I just read a lot about nature, how lightning works, how lightning and thunder works, how just nature's processes, right? I read a lot, and then when I see technologies and how they work, like when they describe them, or I just see what they're saying about it, I just plug it all together, right? It's like everything's relative and relevant, right? That's how it seems to me. I think that's one of the roads we went on over there, that paved road. I think we went on that one. Okay, everyone, we're going to stop this video and we're going to start a new one, and I'm keeping these videos in like little short videos. So far we probably have like 10 or something, or 15, or maybe we only have like 5 or 6. I don't know. I think I'm losing count. But we'll see you in the next one in a few seconds. Stop recording.